On today's Olympic Hockey Daily, presented by Locked On NHL, we're back with Erica Ayala and telling you just how Canada won gold in the women's tournament.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to this Olympic hockey edition of Locked On NHL. I'm Rachel Donner from Locked On Flyers. I'm on Twitter at @rmiriam. I'm here as always with Ann Kimmel of Locked On Predators. And where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at AnnK_Mama on Ice.
So we have a gold medal winner in the women's tournament. It is, of course, Team Canada winning over Team USA 3-2. And man, what a game.
It was incredible. You know, I really hoped it was going to be a game as good as their preliminary matchup, and it was even better. Great gold medal match.
So much fun. And we're going to talk a lot about that coming up with Erica Ayala from Beijing. Thanks for making Locked On NHL your first listen every day. We are free and available on all of your favorite podcasting platforms, and you can watch us over on YouTube. All right. We are so happy to welcome back to the show from Beijing following that women's gold medal game between USA and Canada. Erica Ayala, how are you doing?
Oh wow, it's all of the things, all of the emotions, and it was just a great women's tournament. I can't believe I got to see that live in real time in real life.
So speaking of that, is there like one little moment that you saw that maybe the cameras didn't catch that jumped out at you following Canada's victory?
Oh man, I feel like there are probably a few, but one that the camera probably didn't catch, a little more on the bittersweet side, but it has to do with Lee Steckline, so there's plenty of sweetness there. But Lee Steckline, you know, there's a lot of logistics while they're trying to get 3 hockey teams onto the ice and the medals. There's a lot of time. So Lee Steckline and Kendall Coyne Schofield were kind of making their rounds, hugging people. Lee was just like a little mama bear giving hugs out she was on the bench, a few people on the ice. And then as they were in the procession getting ready to line up for their silver medal, a volunteer, like, you know, did one of those violent, like, oh, I'm falling type things, and fell and hit the ice. And Lee, since she's number 2, is the first in line to get the medal, so the last to go. And she like turned around, made sure the volunteer was okay.
Oh, that's so nice.
I know, like, has to be heartbroken about losing in the gold medal game, but just I feel like those things, watching Lee Steckline give out hugs and helping a volunteer who slipped on the ice, I was like, oh, I just want good things for Lee Steckline is really the moral of the story.
I think we all do.
Quick reaction is it went kind of how I thought it was going to go. It went pretty much exactly how I thought it was going to go. I thought it was going to be tighter than that 4-2 game that we saw where Canada got the win, but I did expect Canada to get the win. I've been saying for a while they had earned the right to be the favorites throughout the tournament. I think that held true in the gold medal game. I do think the United States played a sharper game in some respects and definitely kept it interesting, like I expected they would after a 4-2 loss in the prelims. But the better team won. So, yeah, I think it's just about what I expected.
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. Great game, but the end result, I think, is not surprising to most of us. What were the keys to Canada's victory in this game, as you saw it, Erica?
I think it was, especially in that first period, I think the first period really dictated the game in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. Canada got out to an early scoring. You know, Spooner thought she had the first goal, but it was an offside. But then right away, Canada strikes back and gets one for real. And we know that from that preliminary game that the U.S. was out shooting Canada in a big way. And shots were even in the first period. That did not hold true for the rest of the game, but Canada did a great job of getting their offense rolling and stymieing the United States and not letting them get the shots up that they usually have been able to in this tournament, and that it seems that they like to.
Yeah, and a lot of those shots that USA took were more from the outside than normal. Like normally they'd be, in the slot or, an angled shot, and they were taking a lot more shots from the perimeter, I think, than they would have liked to, and a lot of them were getting blocked. Like Canada was doing such a great job of getting in the way of those shots and just creating such a solid defensive structure that I think, the kind of bread and butter goals that Team USA would normally score just like weren't available to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And you also saw, Marie-Philippe Poulin just like picking pockets in the offensive zone as she's, technically on a back check, but US trying to exit their defensive zone, and then MPP just is like, nope, I'm going to take that. It was just things like that where Canada was sharp, especially offensively, knew that they wanted to swarm, and the United States took them a little while to get into their rhythm. And I do think maybe if we had even another minute of this game, quite literally another minute, we might have seen a different result. But that's not how the cookie crumbled.
No, I want to talk about one specific thing about that is in the third period, they had that power play, not the last one where Kessel scored, with 12 seconds left, but the one previous. It was a shambles. And I think that, Team USA struggled with the power play this whole tournament, but they had been getting slightly better at it, I thought, as it went on. And that was just such a critical moment. And to see no structure, no drive. They couldn't really get set up at all. Do you think that's more of a testament to what Team Canada did defensively, or was it just like USA didn't know what to do in that moment?
I think it comes from Canada knowing their team and their teammates, and the United States, again, running out of time to do that. I feel like whether it's been on this podcast or in the Twitter spaces that I've been hosting, I really do feel that in a cycle, essentially, that has been more years than not in a global pandemic, Canada has taken the opportunity to get to know each other as a team and to establish some of those things when you do have ice time that you take for granted. And the United States, I do think they did some of that, but then they had a coaching change. They had a coaching change right before, literally right before the last World Championships. And that coach and the coach and special teams is definitely an area where the United States was not fully formed.
Yeah, another thing that people are kind of looking at Team USA and kind of wondering about is that there were some players who just didn't see ice time in this gold medal game. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, so we're talking Caroline Harvey and we're talking Jinsey Dunn. First of all,
and Grace Zumwinkle to a degree.
Yes. Not like I think it was Jinsey Dunn got no time whatsoever. But yes, Grace Zumwinkle, and then ultimately that fourth line, their time was limited as well. I think that I really like Jinsey Dunn's play. Caroline Harvey is one of the players I remember had a standout play earlier in the tournament, and then you didn't really see her again. But I think, again, the U.S., my theme really is just that they ran out of time. And I don't know why Coach Johnson didn't think he had enough time, perhaps, to break in those players, especially in the earlier games. I do think he relied heavily on some of the defenders that have been there, done that before. But I think with the skill that you have on a team like the United States, I don't think that he had to necessarily do that. Not for the sake of, I don't think you lose anything when you have when you have Jinsey Dunn on the ice. So for me, that was a little bit of a miscue. Obviously, I'm not running practices. I'm not there for when they do have team building activities. So maybe there's more to that, but it did seem odd to me for sure. Not to mention that that's putting a lot of pressure then on Lee Steckline, on Kayla Barnes, on Megan
Right.
Keller.
Yeah, I want to talk about maybe some players that stood out that we haven't talked about yet. And number one on that list for me is Sarah Nurse. I mean, what a tournament.
Okay, but hold on. Is my mic on? I just want to make sure because y'all know when I give a laundry list of like every Team Canada player, I made sure to mention Sarah Nurse because she has been having an outstanding tournament, coming back from injury, getting bumped up to that first line with, I don't know, someone you might have heard of, Marie-Philippe Poulin and Brianne Jenner, who was playing out of her mind. So to be on a line
Yes.
with those two, Sarah Nurse really elevated her game. She ends up becoming the all-time leading scorer in a single Olympic tournament, passing Hockey Hall of Famer Haley Wickenheiser. I mean, she's
Did
having an
not think that was going to
outstanding.
happen ever.
I mean, we'll put a little asterisk because this is a longer tournament. We had more teams, yada, yada, yada. But Sarah Nurse was crushing it. Becomes one of the all-stars for this tournament. Strong case could be made for MVP. And, I was on another podcast and, I didn't mention it, but I was glad the host did. And she's doing it in Black History Month. And I'm here for it.
Football might be over for this season, but basketball is full steam ahead for both pro and college hoops. From all the latest odds, totals, player performance props to where the next fired coach is going to land, BetOnline.net is the #1 spot for all your sports betting needs. BetOnline remains the best spot for all of your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline.net is your source for hockey, boxing, and UFC odds, right to the Olympic coverage and information. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Once again, thanks for making Locked on NHL your first listen of the day. We are free and available on all your favorite podcasting platforms. And we have more now with our talk with Erica Ayala.
Well, the United States, they got up shots, except for that first period, they outshot Canada. So Ann Renee Desbiens again had to have a really good game for Canada. I think it was different than we saw in the preliminary round. I also added, we talked about blocking shots. I do think Ann Renee Desbiens got some help from her teammates because there were some yawning nets. There were some yawning nets in this game.
Yes.
And between the United States, quite honestly, just shooting off target, and Canada finding bodies in the right place at the very right time, it just didn't work out for the United States. But Ann Renee Desbiens gets credit for those saves, but not all of them were as clean as we saw in the 4-2 win in the prelim.
Yeah, I would say so. And especially, I think as the game progressed, to your point, Erica, about, USA finally finding their rhythm a little bit later in the game than maybe they wanted to. I think that the shot quality got better and Desbiens needed a little bit more help in those situations. But again, she came up, super clutch in, the last, I would say 5-6 minutes of the game as well. And I think that for me, there's also, I would normally be really sad about Team USA losing this game, but I can't, because of the dominance of Canada and how good they are. And just, you have to respect it. You have to look at their depth, their structure, everything that they put together. And I've never felt happier to watch Team Canada celebrate at the end of a game as I did for this one. I have to say, because they put in the work and they absolutely deserved it. So I think, Erica, was there anything else that stood out to you as far as, watching Canada on the bench during the game, and then just like as it progressed, as they got closer to that win, and then watching them celebrate?
Well, first of all, it was very much a tense and delayed gratification because let's not forget, I think we mentioned it quickly, but the amazing Amanda Kessel, I don't know, just decides to score with Marie-Philippe Poulin in the box. Can we talk about that?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
the United States on a power play, MPP, Captain Clutch in the box, literally banging on the box every time Canada blocks a shot or makes a good play. So she's just like frantically banging, which I think she thought was going to excite people. It was stressing me out. I was stressed. But then, so USA scores, and then time they just run out of time. We've talked about that a lot. But I didn't see this in real time, but I saw a picture of like Jamie Lee Rattray. Did you guys see this? Jamie Lee Rattray, like looking
Hilarious.
like she's about to fall headfirst onto the ice. I don't know if she actually fell. I don't know what happened, but
she was
it looked very
hanging
dangerous.
over the boards for dear life. It's amazing.
Yes. And that's how wild and crazy. Like Jamie Lee Rattray is all of us in the last 12 seconds of that game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes. For sure. So anything stood out about the post game to you as you were watching the team celebrate? Unfortunately, we didn't see a ton of that here on the broadcast, but what was that experience like?
Well, again, it's just one of those things where your heart breaks for the United States because there's so many logistics that have to happen, and they have to stay out there. Finland has to come out because obviously they didn't play a game, but they are receiving their medals. They didn't receive them after the bronze medal game. So your heart just breaks, It was, I guess, bittersweet again to see Brienne Decker and her little scooter, with her knee up. And at one point, you see Sis Paulson, who's the equipment manager, she's tossing over Decker's jersey, and then one of the players tosses over. Decker had like a little pea coat, little gray coat or something, so they're tossing that over. So that's probably something you didn't see on the broadcast before Decker got decked out in her USA gear. We didn't see much of the celebration, or at least I didn't, because I had to run down and try and catch the quotes in the mix zone. But it seemed like Canada just really enjoyed it. What I will say is all of the volunteers here have been amazing, and it was really fun to see them both before the game and also after finally get to enjoy their Olympic experience. They were so professional the whole time, but they were enjoying taking selfies, and they had little gifts that they gave us, and were taking pictures with some of the reporters that they'd made friends with over the last handful of weeks. So that was cool too.
Oh, I love that. I do also want to mention Abby Rock, what just seemed to be Team USA's support system after the game, giving everybody hugs and, trying to smile when everybody else was upset. And I appreciate that so much. And she stepped up so big in this tournament, taking on a role that she didn't anticipate having to coming into the Olympics. And so both on and off the ice, she has been, one of the standout athletes on Team USA for me.
And I hope it lasts. I know Abby Rock also came back from a pretty serious injury, the way she tells it, an ankle injury. And, I was questioning even before that injury where she was fitting into this USA system, because it seemed like she wasn't really getting much ice time. So I hope that this bodes well for Abby Rock in the future. I hope that in the future, the United States, that they gain some consistency at their leadership level on the coaching staff, because for my money, the difference in this game, because again, if we had even just one more minute, one more full power play for the US, this could have gone very differently. another overtime.
Mhm.
Oh goodness, which would have been 3-on-3 chaos. But I really do think that the skill is there for the United States. I want the U.S. to rely and trust and have confidence and faith in their young players, and to do similar work as Canada did in building something over time. You know, there's the goal song for Hockey Canada since the last World Championships has been by this group Arkells, and the song is called Years in the Making. And it's a perfect song
Oh, wow.
for this Hockey Canada team. It truly has been years in the making. They got it done, and that's what we need to see from USA Hockey.
Yeah, certainly getting rid of Chelsea Dagger would be phenomenal. That is, it's old and it's tired and it's got to go.
Indeed. We need some new spice, new energy. So I'm ready for it. I'm here for what's to come for USA, because the fight is always there. That's a given, especially when they're going up against when the USA is going up against Canada. So now it's the next step. A lot of people are saying that this Hockey Canada team has evolved how to play women's ice hockey at this level. I think there is a case to be made. So now, it's your turn, USA. What are you going to do? Because I don't think that they're going to be content with only winning gold, every 20 years. They want more consistency than that.
Right.
Yeah, I think the next year of USA women's hockey is going to be something to keep a close eye on in what they do structurally, what they do with their camps, what they do with their roster selection, and how they are developing players. We've got a U18 conversation to be had moving forward in terms of developing new players for this team, and and also what Canada's doing. Can they keep this going? This team from Canada is probably the best women's hockey team I've ever seen in my lifetime. And, can they maintain that? Do they have the pipeline to maintain that? Are they going to maintain these systems to do that? And it's all great questions. And I look forward to finding out what those answers are.
Indeed. So, with the North American men's teams knocked out, with the women's teams wrapped up, and the gold medals handed out, and that means we're coming to you next for sled hockey, where we're gonna have some more more melanin representation, at least for the United States. So I'm looking forward to now ushering. Yeah, I want you to usher us in to Paralympics here for Beijing.
I cannot wait. It's going to be just as exciting as this women's tournament has been. I cannot wait to introduce everybody to Team USA and just the entire international sled hockey competition. It's going to be fantastic.
All right, Erica, thank you so much for joining us again and providing incredible insight and direct reporting from Beijing during these games. And hopefully we'll be talking to you again soon.
Yes, I'll be stateside by the next time we chat.
Excellent. Well, safe travels and enjoy that celebratory wine.
Oh, yeah.
Once again, so great to get to talk to Erica direct from Beijing. So many good observations there, as well as fun little stories.
Yes, it's great to have boots on the ground willing to give us kind of an inside look.
So one thing that we didn't talk to Erica about, because again, so much to talk about following that gold medal game, is that there was a report after the game in, post-game interviews with coaches and such. Alex Cavallini mentioned that she tore her MCL on January 14th, and she even herself wasn't sure if she was going to make it to the Olympics. She didn't practice until 3 days after getting in China, and she said she felt shaky until the medal round. And, I think she performed great in that. I think that if you're looking at reasons to, fault Team USA in that gold medal game, I don't think she's who you're going to talk about first, right?
I would agree with that. I don't think goaltending was an issue that would have affected the outcome of this game. No.
No, I think there's a couple things that I take away from that. First off, there are two other great goaltenders on that Team USA roster, and I might have
Yes.
had Nicole Hensley in the backup slot just to be safe. I think she was probably in the best position to come in should there be a
Mhm.
need, and especially knowing there's an injury and that anything can happen, you really want to put yourself in the best position should you need to swap out the goaltender. And so maybe that's a slightly different choice I would have made. And then
Mhm.
I think the other thing is that we've been talking with Erica and with other people about Team USA management and that they've
Yes.
had some questionable decisions. And, is this roster constructed properly? Are they being coached properly? And, I think this just adds to that
Mhm.
problems list, right?
I think this is definitely a red flag, and I think it's something that needs some further discussion. I really, people look at this story and they think, oh, she's so brave. Isn't she tough? Isn't she great for going in and playing? And I think my thought is, where are the coaching decisions being made, and why is this where you landed? And again, she performed really well.
Mhm.
But when you have other options available who are healthy, I think it definitely is worth a conversation as to why the choices that were made were made. And again, don't think it would affect the outcome of the game, but it definitely raises some questions for me. And I don't think it would be so bad if there weren't already some other questionable coaching decisions that people have had to discuss throughout the tournament as well. This just adds to that, I think.
Exactly. And, one of those other healthy goaltenders who was at home is Erin Frankel. She was on the 2020 Worlds roster that got canceled.
Hmm.
She was on the 2021 Worlds roster, but did not get any game time in that tournament. She's at Northeastern. She's last year's Patty Kazmaier winner, who's the women's NCAA hockey MVP award. And she's
Yeah.
in contention for it again this year. She has a .958 save percentage at Northeastern. Definitely one of the top 3 goaltenders in women's college hockey. So it's not like there weren't other options available. And again,
Right.
not that there was anything particularly bad about how Alex Cavallini played in this tournament at all. It's just adding to the pile of questions for USA Hockey.
Yes, I agree with that. It's not about performance. I think it's much more, it leans to conversations about management.
Well, again, lots of questions to be asked and hopefully answered over the coming months as USA Hockey looks to make some adjustments, I think, in their program. And we will certainly be talking about them in the coming years as, we approach the next Worlds. Thanks so much for listening to today's show. We'll be back again tomorrow, and we're going to take a look at the men's semifinal results and medal game previews. Yes, there's still more hockey to be played in the Olympics this year. And we're also going to take a look at the overall broadcasting and presentation of the games. It's not something we've addressed a ton of on the show. And I think, there's some good, there's some bad, and there's some needs improvement, and it'll be a fun conversation. Thanks for listening and have a great day.